Hi, I'm Rajiv, and today we're ironing sheets. This video was brought to you by Brooklinen. Ironing sheets, this is something that may seem archaic to a lot of people. I get a lot of pushback when I talk about ironing, but I want to share this with you today because it's something that I genuinely do, and over the years, it has acted as a kind of therapy for me. There is something about ironing sheets that makes you feel good about yourself. So let's get right to it, and I'll talk about the benefits of ironing sheets as we're working. I have a little twin size bed here, and what I always start with is the fitted sheet because it kind of is the most difficult thing to iron. The fitted sheet has its corners, and the corners are the awkward part of ironing this specific sheet. The way I start with ironing a fitted sheet is I just take the sheet and I fold it in half lengthwise. And then I place the middle of the sheet on the ironing board. So I'm gonna tackle the corners at the end because that's kind of the difficult part. But I start with the actual middle of the sheet. And I get the main kind of the body of the sheet ironed as it's laying flat. And because this is a twin size bed, it's a lot easier to iron these sheets than a queen or a king size bed. So when I start to get to the awkward parts of the corners, I actually just place the corners over the edge of the ironing board and then give this an iron. The thing about this initial ironing that I'm doing is I'm doing the big part of the sheet first, and I'm going to get to the awkward bits at the end. So that's basically done. And because I folded it in half, I really did get the other side too. And now what I do is I do the corners. And I do the corners by actually taking the sheet and placing the corner over the edge of the ironing board. So this corner, this fold right here, goes right on the end of the board, and I stretch this out. And I can actually see that where I ironed and where I haven't ironed. And then I do this. It also really helps to have stripes on the sheet because it tells me that the sheets are actually placed straight on the board. At this point, the sheet isn't folded anymore. I'm actually ironing a single layer at a time, and I'm going to rotate the sheet around the board so that I'm actually getting every bit of the edge of the sheet. And anywhere where I see little wrinkles where I didn't get it in the first pass, I'm doing that now. Now, why iron your sheets? This is something that people have commented on for years because I've been talking about ironing sheets for ever since I got onto social media. And people say, I don't have time to iron sheets. People say, they're just gonna get wrinkled anyways. People say, nobody's gonna see them, so why would I do it? You are ironing your sheets just for you. You're not ironing your sheets for anybody else. You're not ironing them so that someone else can see them. You're not ironing them so that you can take a picture of it. This is something that you're doing that makes one little moment of your life luxurious. And I don't see this as work. If I don't have the time to iron my sheets, I don't iron them. I just throw them on the bed. But I will say that even when I'm busy, if I can carve out half an hour to iron the sheets, I do it. Because while I'm doing this, something's happening. I'm connecting with myself. And I know inherently that this task that I'm doing, this chore, it previously was a chore, like there was a time when all sheets that went on all beds had to be ironed. But I see this now as not a chore, not a task, but a kind of like special thing that I'm doing just for me. I have to say that here in New York City, when I'm riding my bike around the city or when I'm running around, every so often someone stops me and says, you know, I iron because of you. And that makes me so happy. Okay, we've reached an awkward stage. I reached the short end of the sheet. Oh, here's another great thing about these Brooklinen sheets. So this company, I can't say enough good things about this company. They think of all of the little details. You know when you're putting a fitted sheet onto a mattress and you're like, wait, is this the short side or is this the long side? Well, look at these fitted sheets. On the short side, there's a little label that says short side. And on the long side, there's a label that says long side. It's those tiny things that make the difference, but it's also, this company isn't just great because of the little labels they put on things. They think of the true structure of the fiber that goes into these sheets. And I have to say that when I'm looking for products out there, I'm always looking for things that are really good quality. And these sheets are such good quality. They're made of cotton that is long stapled cotton. When cotton is harvested and processed, it's actually graded into the staple lengths. Like there are long strands of cotton and there are short strands of cotton. And this is something that you and I don't really see because when we buy a sheet, the cotton has been spun and woven into cloth. But the longer the staple of cotton, the finer and the stronger the thread is. And Brooklinen's cotton sheets are made of long stapled cotton, which ultimately in the end makes for a high quality sheet that feels better because there's fewer exposed ends on the thread per inch, which are not as soft as something that's made of long stapled cotton. There is something about ironing the sheets that is about feel. When I iron my sheets, like the night that I get into that bed when the sheets are ironed, it feels so wonderful. The sheets are crisp. And this is something that I think is wonderful about staying in a hotel is that the sheets are pressed. And you really do feel that when you get into the bed. So at this stage, I have ironed the main body of the sheet and I've ironed the sides of the sheet. And the last thing I do is I kind of just check for areas that I've missed by putting the sheet over the board again and just rotating it around. And anywhere that I've kind of missed, I go over with the iron. Now, one thing about ironing your sheets is you've washed your sheets, they're clean, and you might be concerned about the sheet touching the ground. Well, if it's touching the ground and the ground is not as clean, like if your ironing board is in a place where the ground isn't as clean as you'd like, put something down. You can put a drop cloth down or you can put a blanket down and you can place that on the ground so you know that the sheet isn't touching the dirty floor. I wash these floors once a week. I'm always cleaning these rugs. I am fine to lie down on this rug on the ground and I feel fine doing that. So if I feel fine lying down on this rug, I'm okay with this sheet touching the rug. But if that's a concern for you, just put something down first. Ironing the fitted sheet really is a pain in the ass. I'm just gonna admit that because it has this elastic around it. So I'm not too hard on myself about ironing the fitted sheet. Just be conscious of this. The place that you really see the fitted sheet is over here. Like you see this edge, you see this edge. So if I'm really in a rush, I make sure that I iron like the top edge of the fitted sheet and this part of the fitted sheet. But I'm not fussy about this because, as I said, I'm just really doing this for myself. So sometimes I just rush. Now, once the sheet is ironed, there's steam in this. There's actual like moisture that you've put in the sheet from the iron. So I personally don't make the bed right away with the sheet. Some people might say, well, you've ironed it, now you're gonna wrinkle it if you hang it up. But I do hang it up a little bit. I just fold it in half lightly. I gently fold it in half lengthwise. So crosswise and lengthwise, and I just lay it on this post of the bed. Because I want it to just cool down a little bit and to allow that moisture to air out before I make the bed. So once the annoying fitted sheet is out of the way, the next sheet is the flat sheet, and that is actually a lot easier to iron and kind of fun. So this is the flat sheet. This is Brooklinen's Luxe Satin sheet set, and this is the tandem stripe in blue tide for anyone that wants to buy this exact pattern, which people are always asking, what exactly is that pattern? I want that. So that's what this is, and this is how I iron the flat sheet. I fold it, and I fold it in quarters. So this has been folded in half lengthwise, and then I fold it in half again widthwise so that it's folded basically into 4 layers. Now, if you're going to fold the sheet and you're going to iron it folded, you actually have to fold it carefully. So what I do is I actually go to the corners and I line up all the corners so that they're kind of exact. And then I just make sure that everything else is pulled taut. And then I go like this. So this is like now a manageable size. And this is a twin sheet. It will be bigger if it's a double or a queen or a king size bed, but folding it into quarters like this makes this so much easier. And now, when I lay this on the ironing board, I can actually iron this using the width of the board. And if a little bit hangs off to either side, do it in parts. So what I do is I lay it on the ironing board and I leave the hem alone. So the top hem, which is going to be exposed, that on a flat sheet is the most important part of the sheet. I don't worry about that now. I'm going to do that at the end. I iron the body of the sheet folded, and I just move it along the board as needed. Now, ironing technique. When you have your iron, you don't need to go like this, like you just make long, smooth strokes. So, using the steam, it's better to just let the iron do the work by smoothing it along the sheets in a fluid motion. And sometimes I forget that, but I actually saw that in the dry cleaning shop. I saw the proprietor of the dry cleaner where I take things showing a new employee how to iron. And he was telling her, don't move it around so much. Do these long strokes. And I was like, I think I do the zigzaggy thing. And he taught me that. So then I started doing that. So I'm sharing that with you because even I learn things. This is what happens when you go out into the world and you actually watch. You watch what's happening around you. If you're standing and waiting for something, there's a whole world around you where you can learn things. I'm just ironing a bit, and then I'm moving it along, and it hangs down here very nicely. It's finished. And then I flip it over, and I do the other side. This has been pressed, but not as well as the side that the iron came in contact with. So I don't do all 4 layers. I just do one side and then I flip it over and I do the other side. So once the sheet has been ironed in its quarters, what I do is I just turn it so now the hem is exposed and I iron the hem separately. I iron the hem separately because the hem is the star of the show, okay? The hem of the, if you don't iron anything with any kind of attention, except one thing, pay attention to the top hem of the flat sheet, because that is what you're going to see, and that is actually the thing that's going to be the closest to your face and your neck when you're sleeping. So I always focus on the hem. I have this in quarters. I press it while it's folded. So what I do is I iron the hem folded first, but then I actually open up the sheet like completely now, and I iron the hem flat, the whole hem. Because you really will see this hem when the bed is made. There. Once the hem of the sheet has been ironed, I fold this again into 4 quadrants. So I fold it lengthwise, I fold it crosswise, and then I hang this up. While I do the last bit, the pillowcase. Okay, I said that the hem of the flat sheet was the star of the show. Now I'm reconsidering. I think there's a diva that's trying to up the hem of the flat sheet, and that is the pillowcase. Because I didn't really realize that the pillowcase is kind of the thing that you really do see, because you put the pillow on top of the flat sheet. So the two are vying for the lead role, so it's up to you. It's up to you to decide who the star of the show is by what you focus on. Now, the pillowcase, these Brooklinen pillowcases have this wonderful pocket in here. This pocket, if you're not focused on the pocket and you just kind of go like this and you start ironing, you can crush that pocket and it'll create all these puckers in the top of the pillowcase. So as we did with the sheets, always just lay everything out so that everything is flat and smooth before you start ironing. And it'll just make the whole task a lot easier and technically, literally, smoother. So I start with the actual opening of the pillowcase with the pocket. I lay the iron on and I give it some steam. There. And I can see that there are no creases in the top, so that means I laid the pocket down properly. Now I can proceed to the rest of the pillowcase. And I actually just rotate this at this point and place it so that the wide part is laid over top the whole ironing board. These sheets and pillowcases are Brooklinen's Luxe Satin. Satin is a weave. It's the way the cotton threads have been woven that creates a fabric that is smoother. It's very tightly woven, but it's silkier. And it's silkier because of how the threads have gone together. So in a plain weave, in the other plain cotton sheets that Brooklinen has, the threads are just going over, under, over one, under one, over one, under one. But in a sateen weave, I can go into this because I've actually woven on a loom, so I know technically what a sateen weave is. Should I explain this to you? Very quickly. Okay, so we have one thread that goes over 3 threads and then goes under another thread. And then the second one goes over 3 threads, but staggered. So it creates these diagonal stripes, and you won't see it with your blind eye because the threads are so fine, but this sort of diagonal woven structure creates this feeling when you put your hand over it that it's silky. And this is an aspect of why I iron things, because when something is woven with a specific hand feel in mind, it's meant to be experienced flat. It's not meant to be experienced with all these wrinkles. Because if these wrinkles are up against your skin, now we're getting into some real detail here. The wrinkles are creating like little tiny pockets where what's touching your skin is just like little bits and pieces of the cloth. Whereas when it's ironed and it's flat, especially if you sleep a la mode, do you know what that means? It means you sleep in the nude. If you don't wear any clothes and you sleep on sateen sheets that are ironed, damn boy. I'll just say that these sheets, you don't have to iron them, but when you iron sheets, especially this luxe sateen, you're heightening the way that this was created, and you will experience them in a much better way. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. These are the things that I do just for me. There's so much that I do for other people, the people that I love in my life, cook them meals, invite them over, send them things in the mail. But this one task, ironing your sheets, like even sometimes when it takes too long, like even sometimes when it's 11:30 at night and I'm standing here doing this before I make the bed and it's late, when I get into that bed, there is just this wonderful feeling, and it is one moment. Yes, the sheets are going to get wrinkled again. Yes, it's just one night and it's not the whole week. But if I could inspire all of you to do one thing with stuff like this, it's to stop quantifying time. Just because something is short and just because something is a small moment, it doesn't mean that it doesn't warrant time and effort to create that one single moment. In this part of the world, we tend to quantify things. I need this to be better. I need this to last longer. I need more value out of it. And when we quantify things like that, sometimes we lose the magic of experiencing a moment, however short it is, for all of its wonder and its beauty. And that's why I do this. Okay, so this is the hierarchy. The pillowcase gets the most attention. The flat sheet gets the next amount of attention, especially the hem. And the fitted sheet, And then the duvet cover, if you have a duvet cover. The duvet cover should get a lot of attention too. Okay, so the pillowcase, it's done. And I just leave the pillowcase, oh, I see little bits. I just leave the pillowcase on the ironing board to cool down, because now I'm gonna make the bed. And by the time I iron the pillowcase, these 2 other sheets are usually cool enough to start making the bed. One big tip: if you're going to iron your sheets, when you wash them, hang them up to dry and iron them while they're still slightly damp. Or if you put them in the dryer, take them out before they're completely dry. Because when the sheets are slightly damp, if you iron them, you'll really get out the wrinkles. The fibers should be damp when you're ironing them. So if they're completely dry, spray them with a spray bottle. I was ironing these sheets while they were still slightly damp. Very, very, very important if you're going to do this. Now, I'm ready to make the bed. There. Brooklinen bed. These beautiful luxe sateen sheets, and this is their 100% cotton waffle bed blanket, which is perfect for someone that gets hot at night that doesn't want something very thick. These luxe sateen sheets from Brooklinen are perfect for all year round. I use linen sheets in the height of the summer. I use their flannel sheets in the depths of the winter, but the luxe sateen sheets are great any time of the year. These are the luxe sateen sheets from Brooklinen. They're 100% cotton, and they're called luxe because they are so luxurious. Now, the great thing about buying these sheets from Brooklinen is that you can mix and match. If you're buying what's called their hardcore bundle, you can buy the sheet set with pillowcases, but you can change the elements. So you can change the duvet cover and you can change the pillowcases. And the reason I love that is the way that you can create a look like this by economizing and buying a bundle. You can have the sheet set that's in one pattern, but you can have something else that's complementing in the actual duvet cover. This right here is the solid blue tide, and this is the tandem stripe in blue tide. I love that aspect of Brooklinen, the ability to mix and match things. Most people spend a third of their entire life in their bed. I think that if you're going to invest in yourself, invest in your bed. Invest in a bed that you love coming back to at the end of every day. You go out there, you work hard, and when you're resting, the place you're resting should be something that excites you and that invites you in. And that doesn't just mean going out there and spending money on stuff, but spending mental energy on it. That is the aspect of ironing your sheets that I would like to leave you with. This video was brought to you by Brooklinen. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.